Jim Power: The Lost Dimension in 3D is a platform game from French developer Loriciel and published by Electrobrain for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System and MS-DOS in 1993. A Sega Genesis version was created, but its release was cancelled despite being completed. In 2021, Pico Interactive recovered this version and crowdfunded a release alongside a new Nintendo Entertainment System port. A version for the Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4 was released on June 2nd, 2022. Gameplay. The game has several contrasting modes of gameplay, including side view platforming, top view, and horizontal shoot 'em up. It follows Jim Power in Mutant Planet as a different title, but at the same time reinterpreting the original game by taking many basic elements and levels from it. The soundtrack was composed by Chris Hulsbeck of Turrican fame. Jim Power: The Lost Dimension in 3D is often considered by gaming fans to be one of the most difficult games ever made. Despite its name, it's an entirely 2D game, although the game uses many layers of parallax scrolling backgrounds, moving in opposite directions to give a great sense of depth. Together with the 3D glasses that were packaged with the game, designed around the Pulfrich effect, this provided a unique 3D experience for the time when polygonal 3D graphics were rudimentary and too expensive to implement. The 3D feeling could also be related to the overhead stages, showing rotating effects in the same vein as those depicted in similar games like Contra 3: The Alien Wars. Different versions of the game. A version of this game was also developed for the Mega Drive Genesis under the name Jim Power: The Arcade Game. However, despite being in an almost complete state, this title was never published and remained unreleased until a ROM image was eventually leaked. This unpublished version features all levels and cannot be finished, although only a single music track, once again arranged by Chris Hulsbeck, is present in the whole game, and it uses placeholder sound effects from Mega Turrican. Jim Power: The Arcade Game is mostly the same game as Jim Power: The Lost Dimension in 3D, albeit with some minor graphical differences derived from technical aspects. All the top view stages were also replaced by additional shoot 'em up levels, hence the rebranded title of this version depicting a further arcade experience rather than a 3D one. In 2021, a fully finished version of the game was released by Pico Interactive. Retaining the same Jim Power: The Lost Dimension in 3D title of its counterpart versions, it restores the ending, music tracks, and sound effects which were missing in the known prototype version, together with some other minor game polishing. A brand new NES version was also developed from scratch by Pico Interactive to go along the long-lost Mega Drive Genesis version and modern re-releases of previous versions of the game. Music. The music in Jim Power: The Lost Dimension in 3D was directly influenced by the music from the video game series Wise, as can be noted when comparing Jim Power's Forgotten Path and Wise 3's A Searing Struggle. In an interview, composer Chris Hulsbeck admits that the sound between these two songs is similar, but states that it was not done on purpose. Kind of sounds like a Vanilla Ice thing with me with Ice Ice Baby and Under Pressure by Queen. Inadvertently, a melody from the Wise series must have slipped deep into my subconscious because one of the melodies of Jim Power turned out extremely similar. Game reception. The game received average reviews. Nintendo Power scored it 3.125 out of 5, while the reviewers of Electronic Gaming Monthly scored it an average of 6 out of 10. A little bit on the short side today. Couldn't find a lot of information on this one, but all the information here was provided by Wikipedia.